All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jamie Keech from Resource Insider, and today I'm sitting down with the gentleman from Scottie Resources. We have Brad Rourke, the CEO, and Thomas Mumford, the VP of Exploration. Now, I went and visited Scottie late last year, late September. Uh, I spent 3 days on site, and by the end, I actually called my broker, bought some Scottie stock because I was so excited about the work that they're doing and the upcoming drill results. And just last week they released another set of drill results from the Domino Zone, and the goal today is to talk to Brad, to talk to Thomas, go through those results, and help put them into context for what this means for Scottie Resources and, of course, Scottie shareholders like myself. So, Brad, thank you very much for taking some time out of your day. Thomas, thanks for joining us as well.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right, Brad, can you give us the 30-second overview of what these drill results are and why this is important for Scottie? And then we'll get into it with Thomas, about into the nitty-gritty of the geology of this.
Sure. Thanks for having us, Jamie. We're very encouraged from what we've seen from just the past release that we had on Domino. And I think the important takeaway from that is, if you look back at our past interviews, we've just proven that we have mineralization on strike, which is the whole hypothesis of what we had for Scottie. As long as we have strike, we're looking for these dilational zones. I think the information that we picked up on our 2020 drill program states just that. We're very encouraged. Yes, we found some high-grade mineralization. That, coupled with more surface samples and some of the IP and soon to come EM, tells us we're on the right track, and we're excited. We have more targets for 2021, and we're excited. It played out the way we'd like it to.
Great. Like when I was there last fall, the thing that you, your team, everyone there, myself, by the end of it, was most excited about was the potential for this Domino Zone, what it could mean for the scale of Scottie as a whole and the land package you put together, or I should say the geological scale, the geological potential, if you were able to prove ore grade mineralization at the Domino Zone. When I read this press release, this is what I'm starting to see. You're starting to get these high grade intercepts. You've proven there's gold there. So Thomas, maybe you can walk us through this in some detail, go through what the results are, and put them into context for what this actually means for the project as a whole.
Sure. Thanks, Jamie. Domino is a big zone for us. It's located 2 kilometers due west of the Scottie gold mine. So that's a past producing mine, produced extremely high grades. The recovered grade was 16.2 grams per ton when it operated. It wasn't mined out. This is an east-west striking to northwest striking feature that goes into the mountain. And I'm just going to flash up an image here on the screen there, Jamie, just to show you the kind of the scale of what we're looking at.
Yeah, please.
We got that? You see this?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, so this is the Scottie gold mine in here. This is kind of all our results from this summer and showing where things are in relation. So this is the Scottie gold mine. If you go 2 kilometers due west of that, this is the Domino Zone right up at the top here. This is what we discovered last year. We only spent a few days looking at it. We spent about 2.5 days, took some samples, and we came back with some extremely high grade samples in that area. And so that was pretty exciting for us. Like we're talking up to 536 grams a ton in some of those samples. And that indicated that obviously there's a high grade system pushing through here. It's on strike with a past producing mine. We've got to go look at this a little bit more seriously. It's literally, you go up and over the mountain on the other side. And the glaciers in that area, they used to cover it. That's the ultimate fact, is that nobody was able to look at these rocks before, and we're the first ones in there to look at it. So when the glaciers pulled back, we had basically the first kick at the can to look at it. The previous operator hadn't done a lot of exploration work in the area. He'd mostly just done airborne geophysics throughout that zone. So we got in there, found these high grade samples and said, well, man, we're onto something. But we only had like 2.5, 3 days of work on that area. So we were pretty limited on what we knew. Is structurally and just geological controls in the area. So we went in and we drilled it. We drilled 18 different holes off of 6 different pads this summer. When you came out, we were drilling some of the follow-up holes. So we were drilling down, we were hitting things, and we were stepping back and then drilling that same target at a deeper depth where we projected it. And so that's when you came into the project. Meanwhile, while that was all going, we were, taking a lot of samples. We were doing geological mapping, detailed structural interpretation for the area, and we were running an IP grid over the zone. And what that gave us was an incredible amount of information. And that we just put out a release about 2 weeks ago on our superficial results and that IP data coming out. And I'll just flash up another figure from that release, just to kind of put things into perspective of what that looks like.
And so for people who are not familiar with that term, when you say superficial data, what is this? This is grab sampling. This is chip sampling from the rocks that are actually on the surface. It's not drilling, right?
Yeah, this is not drilling. This is taking rock samples from surface, breaking them off. They are in place. This is in the outcrop in the bedrock that we're looking at. So these are representations of what that rock type is and what the grade of that rock is in terms of gold. If you look at all the yellow and orange or red ones, those are all, every one of those is greater than a 0.5 gram gold sample. And the red ones are over 10 grams a ton there.
Okay.
And they all have labels on them, the orange and the red ones. And I mean, these are high grade samples. So we've got like 81 grams here. We've got a 50 gram here, 50 grammer over here. We've got a big distribution of high grade samples in the area. When we sampled it last year, we basically only sampled this area up here. And that's where we put all our drill pads into. And that's where we did all our drilling. But we've gone out and sampled.
And the blue squares are the drill pads, right? And the lines represent the drilling you did, correct?
Exactly. Yep. The blue squares are the drill pads. So off an individual drill pad, we would drill multiple holes in different directions, just trying to find where that mineralization is.
And so when I look at this, it appears that you didn't actually drill the highest grade or the highest potential areas of the Domino Zone based on what I'm seeing here. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's largely correct. We had higher grade sample here, like a 536 gram per ton, but I mean, we have really high grade samples here and a great distribution all along this area. So we have a lot of targets to follow up on based on what we found this year. If we had found these last year, we would have drilled a number of these targets last year.
Now, to put this into context, I should say that just because you maybe haven't drilled the most prospective looking area doesn't actually mean your current drill results weren't pretty damn good from there as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's worth walking people through what you got back from this, this very first drill campaign at Domino, what the highlights are and what it actually means for the project.
Sure. One thing I'd like to point out here, Jamie, is this yellow dashed line surrounding there.
Yeah.
That's our IP results. So induced polarization grid. We ran a grid over this area, and this is actually targeting the areas of conductivity and resistivity. And I've kind of superimposed them over there to the most prospective areas. So these areas, the lighter the color is the more prospective in this block here. This is an inversion block for IP. So the actual geophysically, the highest grade potential is situated down here on strike from the other drilling and right over where we took an 81 gram sample this summer. So this is a very high prospect target for us to go into next year with.
Okay, and how come there's no sort of grid information over there to the right by those other drill pads? Was it not conducted over there?
Yeah, the reason there'd be no information is our IP line would have stopped around here, would have went right through them, and you can't go over ice with IP. And then when you compress all the data and you make the interpretations, the box gets basically smaller and smaller the deeper you go. So this is looking down 50 meters in a section.
Got it. Good. All right.
Yeah. So if we want to look at the drill results from this summer, we're zoomed in here again, same image, just looking at the drill holes. So once again, these are the collars. These are the drill traces. Most of these drill holes are at 45 or 60 degrees going into the earth. And the average drill hole is probably about 120 meters long throughout this entire zone. We started drilling up here and we hit a few of these intercepts. And mind you, we didn't get results back until we had drilled all of these holes. So we didn't have anything to go on to kind of feed that. The labs are just incredibly slow in getting our results back. So we were drilling these, we were seeing what was in the core, and then we were stepping back or targeting different zones based on what we were visually observing in the core. So we did hit on our first couple holes here pretty well. We hit 2.48 grams a ton over 15 meters, including almost a meter of 20 grams a ton. These are fantastic grades. This is what you're looking at Scottie proper. So we're showing that the mineralizing system that we have at Scottie continues across, and we have it here, at least in grade and composition, We also have, a big hit here, 12.4 grams over 2.69 meters. That's ore grade, that's ore grade size. The minimum mining width when Scottie operated was just 3.5 feet. This is well over that. And the grades are above the cutoff grade when Scottie operated. So we're on track to find another Scottie, and we've got the running room now.
So, when I look at this, and what's the next step? Is it to find scale here? Is it to prove out the scale? Because I mean, it's nice to see these high grades over relatively small to medium sized intercepts, but what do you need to do to prove there's really something here of potential economic value?
Well, I think what we need to do is hit an intercept that's comparable to the average width of Scottie proper, and showing that it has strike length and potential. So I think
And what is that, Thomas? What is that?
I think the average width was about 2 meters. The average mine width of Scottie was just about 2 meters. I mean, we do have 2 meter widths here, but we need to show that's consistent, and we need to show that those grades are consistent. The advantage that Scottie had is obviously that was the average. They had bigger ones and they had smaller ones for it. So we would need to show we have something more substantial, a bigger zone, a bigger dilational zone, like, plus 2 to 8 meters in width, and then grades above 10 grams a ton would show us that we are onto a dilational zone like we see at Scottie.
Okay. So what do these results tell you about where you are now and how the Domino Zone fits into the wider picture of what you're trying to build there? And then talk to us for a few minutes about, what's next. How do you take this data, sort of use that to refine your exploration program and hopefully come back with better results, next drill season?
Yeah, so a couple things there. So if you look at Scottie as a whole, it pinches and swells as it goes. And there's these, where it swells out, usually those things have a plunge, they go down into the earth. And so we call that an ore plunge, the plunging ore chute. Figuring out the control of like which way it's actually pointing is a pretty important part of this. We think maybe we're just at a little bit of a pinch point in the structure, and we're just waiting for it to blow out and then plunge down. So we're kind of targeting those zones, and we're doing that by using the geophysics, but as well as the mapping that we did. The geological mapping is figuring out the structure of the area and seeing if there's any indication that this can get bigger or wider. So it's a combination between the structure and basically the geophysics and the surface sampling that we've been doing.
Okay. Brad, are you still there?
I am. I like that I don't have to talk. Yeah.
So
Thomas does a good job.
When I came into Scottie last fall, I bought my stock around 38.40 cents, I believe. Today, you're trading 24 to 26 cents in that range pretty consistently. What's going wrong? Because when I see these results coming out, this is very positive. These were the kind of things I wanted to see when I was investing in Scottie. As I understand it, you've still got quite a bit of cash in the bank, right?
That's correct. We have $3 million in the bank. We have no overhanging debt. We don't really have a warrant to overhang. There's only 2 warrant holders. But yes, we're shocked or we're disappointed, or we'd like to see a higher stock price as everyone would.
Yeah.
But I think it's a function of the sentiment in the market is really, we're not the only ones in this position.
No, and when I look at our portfolio, there's been a significant pullback across all gold juniors since, say, July, August, when they were really kind of ripping, which makes sense, right? When gold drops from $2,050 to $1,850, there's going to be an impact of that. But for people who are investors in Scottie right now, what do they have to look forward to? Should they be holding their stock? Should they be cutting their losses and saying, well, it should go elsewhere? Is this a buying opportunity? Tell me, Brad, what do you think?
Well, it's certainly an obvious a buying opportunity. But, if you look back to what we said we were going to do, we accomplished that. We managed that money well. I mean, we're pretty much at my issue prices from a year and a half ago, except I have money in the bank and we're executing with our drill program. We've yet to come out with anything that we would find disappointing. We're extremely happy what the team's accomplished. And, we couldn't dream better results, and not just on the Domino. We also have lots of success at the other zones we were focusing on. So, I think it's a disconnect. I think, waiting for those results really frustrated people. it frustrated us more than anybody. I can promise you that.
And that was primarily waiting for the assay labs to complete the assays and get that data back to you so you guys can compile it and get it out to the market, correct?
100%. I mean, we anticipated, we did all these, sent in a whole bunch of results right from the beginning from all these different zones because we were really planning to drill off those results and thought we'd have them at the latter part of August. And it was literally October, November before we started getting those.
Right.
So, it didn't fit in with our plan. And from 2019, we didn't have this backlog like we did for the 2020.
Right.
But everybody's in the same boat. So, we're kind of at issue price. We don't have a warrant overhang. We still have cash in the bank. And we've had a successful drill program and a district scale piece of land on, and there's so many catalysts in our area. Ascot has raised the money to build the mill that's just going to be to the south of us. You saw the Seabridge, Pretium's Q4 numbers came out. They're good. So there's lots of catalysts that are positive. It's just the market just seems unenthused at the moment.
Yeah.
But that is what opportunity is from my point of view.
And Thomas, what were you going to say there?
I mean, we've got our own internal catalysts as well. We've still got, 40% of our drill results to put out in the next few weeks.
And so when can investors expect those?
Very shortly.
Very shortly?
Yeah. And once, we are going to be able to just continuously release now until they're all done. And then, we're not waiting on the labs. We have confidence that everything's going to come in now in time to push everything out organized.
All right. So there's more drill results coming up. Hopefully we'll be happy with this. What are you going to do with those results for next season? What do longer term shareholders have to look forward to at Scottie?
More drilling, obviously. I mean, we've got Domino, we've got exceptional targets to follow up on based on what we found this summer. So we're going back into Domino, we're going back into Scottie, we're going back into Blueberry. We're seeing which areas we can really focus on and we can show substantial, gains in terms of resources. That's the next step for us. We had, there's tons of high grade in Scottie. It's all over the place, and figuring out which areas to focus on. I think the data that we've gotten this summer has really shown us that we've got 3 big zones that we can push equally towards.
All right, guys.
And I'd like to add something to there because, I've heard from a lot of phone calls I've had, people are like, well, you're not focused. Well, we never had the data in order to have the confidence to go really hard at any one zone. I think what we've proven with our 2020 program is that we're not going to see 6 different zones. We're really going to hyper focus on 3 that we have the information to justify a lot larger drill programs. And so we're excited to get at that.
Understanding that this is very speculative at this point, but given the data that you guys have, do you think you have a high potential for a mine there? Do you think there's a good chance of Scottie, at one point being a producer again?
Oh, I think, Scottie's going to be a producer again. It's just a matter of when. And I think that's a function of what our grades are. I think, at some point, the premier mill down the road from us is going to mine out Scottie. If we just walked away from it, eventually somebody's going to put that ore into that mill. The question for us is, do we have enough to be a standalone deposit in a mine on our own here? And that's kind of what we're pursuing.
All right. Well, guys, thank you very much for the time. Brad, is there anything I didn't ask that I should have asked? Any parting thoughts for current or would-be Scottie investors?
No, I think just look back. I would, in the spirit of real due diligence, we have enough video and content out there on the back of our webpage, and just go and see, did we do what we said we were going to do in times gone past? Are we executing? And I think people will see that, we haven't colored outside the lines yet. We're happy. We're talking about Domino today, but there's a pretty big, exciting story at Blueberry as well. And there's more news to come out on that here in the near future. And so, there's a lot of potential here. We're in the right area. We've got the geology, and we've got a great team. So I think we check those boxes. We just need the market to be interested again.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. That's Brad Rourke and Thomas Mumford from Scottie Resources. I'm a shareholder. I bought in around 40 cents. You now have the opportunity to get in a lot cheaper than me. I wish I was buying it right now, but I am still very glad I own it. I've not sold the share, and I do not intend to anytime soon. There are a lot more results coming out, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. Gentlemen, thanks again and have a good Monday.
All
Thanks,
right.
Jamie.
Thank you very much, Jamie.